Glad for staying tuned. Now let's get talking now on our first interview segment on the show. The closure of Niger Republic airspace has started taking its toll on foreign airlines operating in Nigeria as the military junta in the crisis-ridden country has cut off the airspace. The closure of the West African countries' airspace has affected foreign airlines flying in and out of the sub-region, forcing them to divert their flight, which may lead to fare increases on international routes. The only Nigerian airline operating into NEMI, that's the Airpeace, had already suspended flights into the country before the outbreak of the crisis. The flight diversion have added to the operational cost of main foreign carriers and may equally lead to fare increases on international routes as a result of the flight diversion. The airlines will not only suffer longer flying hours but also be forced to carry more fuels at an extra cost. To give us more perspective into this development, I'm now being joined live in our Lagos studio by the managing partner, Anglo Aviation Support Services Limited, Mr. Tayo Ujiri. Always a pleasure. Good morning.
Good morning.
Being a part of the show today.
It's always a pleasure. Thanks for being here.
I need to say this. I need to apologize for the stress that you had to go through to be here. It's what we definitely face on this road, but it's a pleasure having you on the program.
Thank you.
Now let's dive into our conversation on the program this morning. Let's begin by me getting your assessment of the likely effect of the Niger Republic airspace closure on the Nigerian aviation sector.
It's closer to home now because it's Niger, and we have about 4 or 7 states in Nigeria bordering Niger, as well as Benin Republic and Togo as well. So with all those countries, it's actually closer to home for us now. But if you look back 2 months ago, we had Sudan. We had the military takeover in Sudan. And with that, the two factions with that rivalry, you actually had them damage Saudi aircraft. That airspace has been closed. Now, Libya, through Tripoli, and that Libyan airspace is still closed because it's still in a situation of war. So looking at Libya, Sudan, and now Niger, and Niger is a very big landmass.
Yes,
we're looking at about 2,600 miles, and in real terms, that's actually about 2.5 hours, depending on the type of aircraft, the height, for that aircraft to go through their airspace. So what does that reckon for us? It actually does make now we're going to see the airlines either diverting. Actually, they've been diverting. They've been canceling flights. And we just about 2-3 days ago, we had South African Airways going to Joburg. From Joburg going to London, they had to stop in Lagos to have a technical stop to refuel. So you did mention in your earlier synopsis overview that yes, you either take more fuel or you cut down on your payload. Now, rather than go down their payload, they're stopping at intermittent places to take more fuel. So that's actually going to cause wear and tear on the aircraft, cost more for the airline, and someone eventually will have to pay for it.
Definitely.
So what we're seeing now is, and let's bring this home, we're seeing how it works in the aviation sector is an airline is allocated number of hours, say from Lagos to London, for this month, and that's per hour, 6 hours. Now, if you have to bypass Niger's airspace, you are taking an additional minimum 1 hour, so that's 7 hours. So your route and your hours for that month will be it would elapse in a very short time. Instead of staying a month, you are doing 3 weeks. So that's extra cost for the airline.
Now I'm really concerned there about how this will impact the outlook of the aviation sector, not just only in Nigeria, but the continent of Africa as a whole. What do you have to say concerning that?
I like comparing apples and apples. When we had the Russian-Ukraine, and we're still ongoing with the Russian-Ukraine war, Russia is a key and the shortest route between airspace is between And don't forget, Russian landmass when it was USSR, and even as Russia now, still the biggest country in the world in terms of landmass. So looking at that landmass is the fastest way to go between Europe and Asia. So now with the closure, when we had the war, we had lots of airlines diverting. So let's bring that home. Now we're going to have lots of diversions. That's going to be lots of costs. That's going to be lots of, we're going to see, I don't think there's going to be a big shock in the system. Because I was reading the IATA report for Africa. We had a 34% growth rate. Yes, and with that 34%, we've gone to pre-COVID times. Now, it's not just this that's going to affect the numbers. There are other socio-political factors. There's the security situation. There's what you call the foreign exchange crisis. And don't forget, we're going through a global inflation. It's not just an African inflation. So global inflation would affect travel. We have technology that's forefront now, and people took advantage of that during COVID. So with technology, all other factors, you now find that people will travel less, and airlines will operate less, and they will not buy as many air tickets, which will not make the numbers look good compared to what we had forecasted to be this year.
Now, talking about the IATA reports now, I really want to touch on that before we dive into other aspects of this conversation. Going by the reports that we see, despite all of these economic challenges, both locally and also internationally, we're able to experience some kind of, and record some kind of growth rate. What would you say is responsible for this?
We're social animals. We're social animals.
Always on the move.
Yes. Apart from that, COVID taught us something psychologically. You have to live. You have just one life to live. So lots of people lost lots of things. And I was reading a BBC report yesterday, and it says, you know what? And according to that report, it says people of the great resignation is over. COVID made people start resigning. Zoom says working from home is over. So now we're in a new phase. So people now have to move. You want to visit friends, you want to explore, you want to meet those bucket lists that you needed to meet. So you need to travel. So as human beings, we need to interact. We're social animals. And part of that interaction is to actually travel. And that's where aviation is needed. And is that a catalyst to move people across the world.
Sometime last month, if my memory will serve me right, there was this trending issue going on social media where traveling from Lagos to London, you're buying an air ticket of 1.something million naira. Then from the same Cotonou to London, you're getting your air ticket at a very cheaper rate. What would you say is responsible for this?
If I had to look at the crystal ball, it's not just one factor. And there are lots of factors, but I will highlight those factors. You find out that we have, out of the outstanding amount of the foreign airlines, globally, Nigeria has the highest outstanding trapped funds. As at April of $812 million.
That's huge.
Now, with the new administration, we actually have had lots of, with the I won't call it the INE window, but the acting CBN governor says it's not the INE window. It's just the normal demand and supply channel, right? But with that, you find out the airlines have been able to repatriate their funds. Now with that repatriation, how much of that 812 million has been repatriated? According to information and according to what findings, we found out that it's just 25%. And yes, from May and from when this started, they've been able to open up this new, whatever they've sold at this high at the open market, they've been able to take out their funds. So they're now trying to buy what was outstanding, but it's at a loss. But it's not just aviation taking that loss. Most other companies are taking that loss because of the forex fluctuation.